All right, everybody. So this is welcome to the Intercoin Crypto Show. We're going to talk about what we've been doing, what we've been building. We're going to talk about the wider crypto space. And the second half of the show, we're going to cover some news, like what's happening with all these governments and banning Tornado, Mixer, all that kind of stuff. We take this show to kind of show off the new things that we have going on. Over here, you see my avatar. We're going to have this format of me presenting Intercoin. If you have any questions, feel free to pop in. Second half, we're going to discuss all kinds of things. So, what's this all about? Well, hi, I'm Greg Magershak. I'm the founder and CEO of Intercoin. And at Intercoin, our passion is essentially to make crypto mainstream. I kind of want to walk you through the history of what's been going on with all these technologies. Where is it all going, and how can we, the people, benefit from these technologies, and how can they help empower not just individual people, but also entire towns, communities, universities, and hopefully bring us all together peacefully online as well. So let me start at the beginning. Right now, we're part of a revolution. We're part of Web 3.0, okay? And essentially, we're continuing a long tradition of having technology empower people where previously they relied on gatekeepers. So if you go back to the 1990s, it was Web 1.0. If you think back, what is Web 1.0? Essentially, it's a web browser that speaks an open protocol called HTTP, all right? Before the web, we had gatekeepers. We had things like America Online, CompuServe, Prodigy, and MSN. These were closed networks that people could use to communicate, and people wanted to come on there and communicate. What Web 1.0 did is it allowed anyone to be able to start publishing their own website using a common protocol and also HTML, common language. Later, they added CSS and JavaScript to make them dynamic and style it to look beautiful. So what did that do? Well, in the past, people relied on gatekeepers. Before the web, if you wanted to get your message out, you needed to contact someone at a newspaper or magazine. You needed to get on the radio if you want to get your songs out. You needed to get on TV if you wanted to get your message out. With the web, all of a sudden, not only were you able to do it without anyone's permission, but also you were able to reach a global audience from the first minute. So you could publish something in Texas and someone in China would be able to consume it. The problem is, though, that it required a lot of technical know-how. And one of the things we're doing at Intercoin is we're going to start teaching courses about how to create these things. In addition to making it simpler, we're going to teach people about how this stuff works. But what could you do? So you basically hired people to build your website for you, okay? Then came Web 2.0. Web 2.0 brought with it a lot of stuff that you used to expect on America Online, CompuServe, and so on, which is to say you had profiles. You were able to chat with people. You were able to plan some events with them. And as time went on, you could even do video conferencing like what we're doing now. You see my avatar, which is pretty crazy. And you're basically able to video conference with people. And soon in the metaverse, people will be represented by these avatars. So you could be totally naked and it won't matter. Anyway, here then you also are able to do economic activity a little bit like checkout. So Web 2.0, again, rather than having each project create profiles from scratch, because they all need users' profiles, rather than having them recreate chats from scratch, what happened is they started to outsource this stuff to platforms like WordPress. WordPress powers 40% of all websites in the world. It's actually more than that now. So almost 1 in every 2 websites is powered by WordPress. So you see that? 31% of the internet. Well, now it's more. So it keeps growing because people like the ability to own their own brand, to own their own community, and to have that community essentially be on their own website. one of the earliest investors in WordPress was New York Times. And they probably use a modified version of WordPress to run their own site. So compare something like this, where they own their own site and they own their own subscription model, whatever they want to do, right? And they control their site however they want. Compare that to Facebook.com/New York Times, for example. Facebook.com/New York Times is a walled garden that New York Times has very limited control over. They could put their logo, they could put a few things, but ultimately people who use this can easily bounce and go somewhere else, right? As they go ahead and they see New York Times articles, they typically go ahead and they see all these articles, and then they go ahead and they see all these ads and these chats and all these things, and they get overwhelmed and they leave your site. So New York Times would much rather have people come on their own site. It's clean. But what they don't have is they don't have the Web 2.0 and 3.0. They just have publishing. So WordPress is great for publishing, but WordPress is not great for Web 2.0 and 3.0. So let's continue. What happened with Web 2.0 is people were able to finally communicate. They were able to have their own profile. They were able to have chats, events, and so on. And through my first company, qbix, we've built all that. Here's the Government Blockchain Association, which is a multinational organization with chapters around the world. This is their WordPress site, gbaglobal.com. They've recently redone it. Oh, they have an internal server error. That's great. So somebody needs to help. Oh, maybe .org. Sorry. Let's see. gbaglobal.org. This is one of our partners. We have many partners. We're going to talk about the Forward Party in the future. Forward Party is now the third largest party in the United States. They are going to need their own software. So here is the Government Blockchain Association, and it's able to publish information to people. That's pretty cool. But all of this information is one directional. So I click on members, and I'm able to see their members. But as you can tell, it doesn't seem like very much like Facebook and doesn't seem very much social. On the other hand, if you use Facebook or you use Twitter, you don't have much control. So if you had, for example, twitter.com/New York Times, you can only do what Twitter says you can do. And if they decide to restrict you or change your interface or deplatform you or charge you for talking to your own members, well, then that's what it's going to be. And if you build a Twitter app like Periscope or something like that, then Twitter can simply take it over or compete with it, which is a lot of times building your business on top of a closed platform, okay, is dangerous because that platform can simply compete with you. Going back to essentially these platforms, you could see that none of these Web 2.0 companies would possibly get started if they had to build inside these walled gardens of Web 1.0. So if you had America Online, the closed source, closed ecosystem, and Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg came and said, hey, Steve Case, I want to build a social network within America Online, keyword Facebook. Steve Case would be like, sure, build it, but then eventually he would eat his lunch. He would just have an unfair advantage owning the platform. Similarly, if Pavel Durov with Telegram came to MSN and said, hey, I want to build Telegram on top of MSN, MSN would say, why? We already have chats. We already have this stuff. So again, even all these companies that got their start, Amazon building a store and so on, can only get their start because they built on an open and permissionless Web 1.0. This thing is the reason why Web 2.0 companies exist. And that is also why we need open platforms, just like Web 3, which we're going to talk about, in order to help people to create their own opportunities without having to go to all these gatekeepers like we have today, Etherscan, OpenSea, WeChat. Okay, so here is an example of Web 1.0. Okay, and this is a real organization that has lots of chapters around the world. They literally have a ton of influence and a ton of members that pay dues. But this is what it looks like. And they have tons of working groups, chapters, okay, and events. So here's working groups. And you can go in and talk to these groups like asset management, for example. All of this is powered by BuddyPress, which is a plugin for WordPress. Let me do one more. I'll show you events. So here are the events coming up. And again, if you go to one of these events, like the Crypto 2.0 Roundtable, go here. It's going to happen in August 17th. It's happening right now, today. This is what it looks like. Okay, you can join the conversation on Zoom at the following time. Now compare what we've done. So here's the same GBA as a community, okay? And this is an event. You can see the schedule right away. This is an event that took place on January 27th. All these people are the people actually visiting the event. And when you're ready, you can talk to them and you can add them to your contacts. You can add them to your phone contacts, which instantly adds it to your phone. Or you can add them on the site if they don't want to share their phone number with you. You can also connect with them right here on the site. If you're a LP, you could do deal flow. You could run your own site for your LPs. You can have notifications enabled. Another thing you could do is you could do video conferencing. You can have calls. Like, for example, what we're doing with Telegram right now. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll be able to do it here because I'm already video conferencing on Telegram. But let's try. Let's go ahead and here's Andrew Yang, a political campaign. Again, they need to organize people. And they have profiles, and they have events. And now I would like to chat with this person. Start a conversation. And then I go ahead, real-time call, and I try to connect. So, again, I could have my camera. So this is where I actually am. And you could have me with my video camera. This is me. And notice that this takes place on your own site. This is your own site. This is not Facebook. It's not Twitter. So you belong to yourself, and your community can be run the way that you want. That's the libertarian vision that we have. Also, we could switch to avatars, which is what we're working with our avatar partners. Avatars are important. One reason avatars are important is because if you're going to have a community and anyone can upload whatever picture they want, for example, you can upload this picture. They can also upload a picture of a butt or something not safe for work. With avatars, that's impossible. With avatars, whatever picture you upload, they're only going to generate an avatar that looks like that picture. So if you put up a picture of a butt, they're going to put up the closest person face that looks like a butt. But it's still going to be a face, and so you solve the problem of people's avatars looking bad. Another great thing is that you can use these avatars in all kinds of ways, and the community will have avatars representing them pretty soon instead of these pictures. That's a kind of innovation that we are bringing. And again, very different than you see over here with WordPress. So a social network that you're used to has events, it has people, it has ways to invite other people and earn credits for inviting other people. You could do QR codes like so. You can check into events like you do here. You could see where the events are. You can even do group rides. So these are examples of essentially, here's Apple Maps. That's what we have built. This is what allows us to create for any community their own software. And that software allows people to do anything with their own programs. This is not using Facebook. This is using, in this case, Apple Maps, getting from New York to whatever. In other words, you have a choice of what you want to do. You could have group rides. You could have people pick you up. It's a community. It's a community that can call people and get people elected, help to get, help to make change happen. All right? So that's the idea. Now, I want to talk about moving forward, a couple things. Here is another example. This is Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live is a libertarian radio show that's been on the air since 2004. They paid us to build a community for their events and their own show. So anytime you listen to the show,
the Black Sea.
Anytime you listen to their show, they're libertarians. Sometimes they're shirtless. They go ahead and basically reward people for listening to their own show. Another thing that you can do is create clips from the show. And then you can share these clips and earn credits for people listening to it. So that's Web 2.0. Now, finally, we get on to Web 3.0. Web 3.0 is essentially the idea that people can exchange value. So whereas Web 2.0 became dominated by WeChat, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, these are the things we use today, YouTube, and it needs to be decentralized. Web 3.0 started decentralized, but it came to be dominated also by essentially central parties like OpenSea. OpenSea takes the concept of NFTs and essentially traps it in a closed environment. OpenSea may as well just use its own central database for all of these things. It may as well just be a marketplace like Amazon for NFTs. So a lot of people would like to see a decentralized version of all this. What Intercoin has done is, unlike many of these other projects in the crypto space, projects like, let's pick one, Everrise. Everrise was a project that was supposed to rise in price all the time, and its supply gets restricted and it gets bought back. But the question is, what about the demand? People talk about the supply, great. Rare NFTs, great. But what about the demand? Who wants any of these things? So if you look at any of these charts, if you look at the full chart, what happens is that it goes up a lot, but then also drops a lot, from 125 to 5 cents, okay? And the question is, Everrise may have some mechanics that work, but if you go to SafeMoon, for example, SafeMoon, that's a famous one, you get it. All these meme coins are essentially very low in utility, okay? So today it went up 200%, and it seems great, 200% if you bought, but it's just the volatility. If you look at overall the chart, SafeMoon, I was talking about it over here, and it was awesome. It went up, but they never actually created much utility. There was another spike when there was a big run-up in crypto, 2021, when people started deploying their, it's just a big run-up in crypto, and then basically just went to zero. And not zero, but yeah, it went up 200%, great, but like relative to its all-time high, people bought here, not really great. So Intercoin never really played that game. Intercoin put out our token, but it wants to be a true utility token. So what would happen is, essentially, our goal is to create free market alternatives to what is now feudalism. What do I mean by feudalism? It means if you're New York Times and you want to have a social network, you typically turn to Facebook, you turn to Twitter, and then you get one of these things. Instead of having your own website, you have twitter.com/New York Times. And we all know how restrictive that is compared to having your own website. Similarly, if you want to have your own NFT collection, you could go to OpenSea. But what if you could have all of these things, the profiles, the chats, the events, the video conferencing avatars, the sales, and then you can have all the Web3 stuff. You can release your own coin. You could release your own NFT collections. You could raise money with it. You could have your own DAO. You could have your own governance community. Finally, you could have a metaverse with our metaverse partners that people can run around in and interact. Now, look, by themselves, these things are going to zero. Each of these things can be commoditized and go to zero. Bitcoin was great in the beginning, but now that it has so many copycats and anyone can create it in a second, that's not the real value. Now, Bitcoin happens to have value because it's the first, and it has a long lead time. Hex has value because it was one of the first coins that would give you yield based on staking it the way, without a rug pull, and honestly put out as a smart contract. But if you created something like that now, wouldn't be that great. CryptoPunks was the first. Bored Apes was one of the first. But if you create NFTs now, you're competing with thousands of them. So these things would tend to essentially follow a pattern where people market it. And if you buy into one of these things, you're hoping you're over here, and you're hoping you're not over here. Because if you come in over here, which is where most people came in, that's why the price is so high, then you're going to hold, and eventually sell at a loss. So rather than doing that, you want a project which has actual demand for its goods and services. What kind of goods and services? Now we're going to talk about Intercoin's business model. So Intercoin has already created all of these things. Our team has already created over the years all of these things you see here: profiles, chats, events, videos. Everything that you see is what I've been showing you. Once these things are created, though, you need the community leaders to get their community on board. That's essentially what happens here. An administrator of a community decides, hey, we have an event coming up. Let's put all the, we have a conference like they're having today. Let's put all the events in one place, and then we can invite our members to come here, right? These are actual people from all over the world, some very important people. Here's an event, the events director of GBA, all right? And Kathy Deshay, all right? She is the wife of Gerard Deshay, the director of the GBA. So all these people giving lectures like Eric over here, all of these people, some of them are very high-placed people. Some are partners in law firms. Others work in the World Bank. They work in a lot of different banking systems. They're professors. This guy's a House of Representatives, works for Congressman Soto. All these people coming to the event are using the software that's launched by them and powered by us. Okay? So then they can connect with one another and get things done. So the difference is that Intercoin isn't going to pay marketers to shill its product. Intercoin instead is doing sales to those same people, community leaders, and they pay Intercoin. So our business model is very simple. We have all these things, and we've built the back-end solutions already. Now we're creating the front-end solutions so that we can integrate them into our existing user-friendly interface. So essentially, the goal of Intercoin is to make crypto go mainstream. If you look at all the other cryptos like Bitcoin, Ripple, Ethereum, you don't really associate it with user-friendliness. You don't really associate these things with something that an average person could use. So why aren't people using it in everyday transactions the way they are using WeChat, Facebook? Well, because it's not user-friendly, first of all. There are three main reasons. One, crypto has to serve entire communities. Crypto's been stuck in serving peer-to-peer, like Uniswap, peer-to-peer trading, Aave, peer-to-peer lending, and so on. Hex, staking. Instead, we build applications that serve entire communities. When you have a community and you want to create software for it, that's what we do. We're even planning to create software for entire cities. We're going to talk about in another episode. So if you want to talk about what we can do, we could help a community to pay in its own currency, distribute a universal basic income, run a contest, raise money. They can also govern themselves, which is now a big thing with DAOs, elections, and we even have statistics to analyze how money is being used. Then crypto has to become more scalable. You can't have $30 transaction fees if you're going to have crypto become mainstream. So we're going to talk about, in future episodes, the Intercloud and the Intercoin protocol that's coming up and how it's going to power this local economy. That's one big reason, technical reason why crypto hasn't taken off, just can't scale. And then most of all, crypto must be user-friendly. Okay, this is what crypto looks like today. Etherscan, MetaMask. That's why a lot of people are kind of put off. Same way they're put off by learning math in college. They're just overwhelmed. So how did computers become popular? In the 70s and 80s, the computers were simply tools for nerds and geeks, and it's for doing your homework and business stuff, okay? Along came the Mac, and it, even in the 80s, was user-friendly, even black and white. It made computing mainstream because people were able to actually use it. It had a computer mouse, it had innovative software. But notice what Apple did. Apple created the entire stack. The hardware was created by Apple. The operating system was created by Apple. And a few initial applications like Mac Paint were created by Apple. So when you got an Apple computer, you were able to go from day one creating stuff that other people couldn't create on their, quote, personal computers with DOS, okay, and write commands. That's what's cool about it. So Intercoin is the Apple of crypto. Intercoin tries to bring crypto to the masses by helping communities invite their members and making it all user-friendly. Finally, the last thing Intercoin is doing is Intercoin is creating a network between communities. So just like the internet, the other piece, why did we get addicted to computers? So it's not, in the 80s, nobody was addicted. If I told people that you spend 10 hours on a computer every day, they would look at you like, what am I, some kind of nerd or a geek? Why would I spend 10 hours a day on a computer? Because the only thing computers could do is play video games and create documents and homework and that kind of stuff. So yes, they had to become more user-friendly and had a graphical user interface and were easy to use. But the thing that really made people addicted to computers, even not even the phones in their pocket, which is with them all the time, it's just the computers that they use, is that they were internetworked into a network where computers, remember with the HTTP protocol, they were able to essentially create websites for anything. And then Web 2.0, you're able to find people to interact with for anything, okay? So essentially, people are addicted because they have other people that they can talk to, they have groups that they can participate in and debate politics, they have all kinds of webinars and events that they can go to. In other words, it's become almost like society online. But one thing it's missing is value and governance, okay? And so essentially, what Intercoin is planning to do, and again, this is not something we're doing this year, it's not something we're going to achieve in the next 1 or 2 years, but gradually, by getting all of these communities on board into one giant network, we're able to essentially make it so that anything you need to buy, any service that you need online, like translation services, community moderation services, all whatever you need, is going to be available to you. And if that's the case, then Intercoins are going to enable, as the bridge currency, for you to do more and more things without ever having to go back to dollars, euros, or even other cryptos like Bitcoin. The goal of Intercoin, the end goal, is to not just create a community software that you can use to run your community, but in fact to inter-network all these communities together. So in the end, you have a system that is like WordPress, it's consistent and you know what to expect going into communities. But then also, finally, you'll know what to do with that crypto in your wallet. All that stuff that right now you don't know what to spend it on because no one is really accepting it, we're going to have a marketplace where people can actually accept it. So if you go to your local store and you want to buy some food, guess what? Finally, it'll be mainstream. Because if we don't do this, if we just let crypto be stuck in the same paradigm that it's been stuck in the whole time, Bitcoin, Ripple, Ethereum, which is to say a paradigm of speculation and simply trading money back and forth with no actual adoption by Main Street, by no utility, no user-friendly interfaces, nothing, right? And instead having things like Etherscan, where you have contracts and you have transactions. I mean, this is what people are expected to interface with these days. Instead, if we do the work and we bring crypto to the masses, then we, Intercoin, will be powering essentially the interface that everyone uses. We, Intercoin, will be able to put up the standard for, let's say, the community contract and the DAOs. So all these things that we are talking about are taking shape. We have intercoin.app. We also have we have the Intercoin applications. So Intercoin applications are essentially already done. We're putting them out this week and next week on the blockchain. So by next week's show, I should be able to show you all of these, pretty much all of these, on the blockchain. For example, we're starting always with the community. If you have your own NFTs, if you have your own university or your course, or you're an influencer, or you have your own fans, we help you to connect all of them in one place. This is what we do for the Forward Party. This is what we do for a lot of different clients. For example, the Forward Party. If you have a Forward Party and you want to have your own network so that your members can coordinate their activities as opposed to being randomly just approaching people. They're going to be able to have their own app that will essentially enable them to create memes, bring more people back into the movement, get onboarded automatically. Then you could have different people give their time, thought leaders, community organizers, help people organize on their own, have the events happen on their own. Group rides allow rural areas to essentially produce events with friends driving friends. Then you could start to see things taking place. If you're Taylor Swift, if you're a celebrity, you could see people organizing, fan bases organizing on the ground, targeting where you want to focus your efforts. Maybe show up, maybe send a hologram, maybe show up at the concert, surprise everybody. So this is what you could do. You could integrate it with your own site. You could have these widgets that you place in your own apps. And you could then start a movement where people are able to essentially build the movement without you having to do all the work. So having a community is the basis for everything else. All of these things are already on, like I said, they're on Polygon, they're on Binance Smart Chain, but we need to raise money. We're raising money in order to do the following three things. We need to audit the smart contracts. We have audits of smart contracts, but they're not by top-of-the-line companies. Companies that do professional audits that are trusted are companies like Certic. So we need to pay for professional audits to make sure that what we put out there is secure. That's number one. Number two is we need to pay for sales and marketing. Unlike other companies, we actually can have sales because we actually have products. And finally, we need to create a user-friendly interface. Yes, we have a user-friendly interface already, but it needs to be connected with these new smart contracts, because right now what you're doing is you're earning points and you're inviting people, but it all happens within the Web 2 framework. What we need to do is take all these smart contracts that we've built, and no one else has a lot of these things that we've built. DAOs, communities, currencies, all of it together. And we need to place it in a package that we can sell. We can sell it to celebrities, we can sell it to towns, we can sell it to everybody. Notice what we're not doing? We're not spending marketing money on paying shills, or as they call them, endorsements, where a celebrity goes and they say, I love Ethereum Max, and you guys should buy Ethereum Max. Because when that happens, essentially, people aren't happy when Ethereum Max plummets and there's no utility. So there's a lawsuit, apparently, all these things that, what does it really do? Well, they're just hawking a currency. And even if it's celebrities, we want something to be real. So what we do is we could approach the same people and tell them, hey, we could build a community software. Take your existing community of your fans and all that effort that you put in building your fan base, and give them your own app, give them your own coin, give them your own NFTs. That's the idea of Intercoin. We're the furthest along of anyone I know. It's been a struggle, but at this point, the token's out there, it's trading, it's available. The main thing now to do is to finish the product and to bring customers. So I want to open it up to everybody who's on this call. And if you have any questions about Intercoin's roadmap or where it's going, we've put our forum into the Intercoin app. I'm going to talk about next time the Intercoin app. I'm going to talk about our own community, our own roles at NFTs, and how we're using our own software to create everything I've been talking about for ourselves. So that's basically what Intercoin is today. And next time I'm going to talk about where we're going. All right. So let me open it up to questions. If anybody has questions or you want to talk, or want to ask me anything about Intercoin, or you just want to spend the last 20 minutes just talking about the news and Tornado Cash and how the guys got arrested for building some software, why he got arrested. These are interesting things that I think are very important in the crypto space. I'm just going to say that if we don't do this, if we don't build a useful software that's open source by the people, not just for the people, if we don't do that, then you're going to live in a world where the federal government will create CBDCs, and there's going to be a lot of central planning. This year, China, United States, they're going to bring out CBDCs, and they are not really happy for you to own your own, currency. But I will say this, they are happy for you to govern your own communities and to have your own local currency. I think that governments will be happy to have their local communities strengthened. They're afraid of peer-to-peer money laundering, capital controls, people moving $1 billion between countries. They're worried about that. But there's so much more that we could do together in local communities that don't involve any of that, that involve empowering people and uniting local communities. So that's what we do at Intercoin. So I just want to open it up to everybody. Zach, I see you're here as well. David, we're going to use a lot of this video footage in our YouTube channel. So if you guys want to talk, just keep in mind that we might use what you're saying in our videos. That's about it.
So, Greg, what do you think is the best way to build communities?
What's the best what?
What's the best way to build communities?
I think the best way to build communities, I think the answer is take an existing community that already exists, right? A fan base of a celebrity. People who read Harry Potter, right? One of the best ways is perhaps to scan a code, scanning, for example, ISBN code. So there's these sites which, you buy the same product, same book, and they all have an ISBN code. You scan that code, barcode lookup, and you could see all the other people that read that book. We could easily put that into, we don't even need to approach all these communities. So also, if you bought a product, if you're all drinking this IPA with the pale ale, right, Sierra Nevada, you could meet other people who are doing it just by scanning your QR code. So there's so many ways to create communities. The real question is, what software are you going to use? Are you going to use Facebook, which essentially distracts you with a million other things? Or are you going to want to create your own community, like the Sierra Nevada community could be powered by Sierra Nevada? And then you can have your own things, and you could create your own experience rather than having to share the platform with like a million other things. That would be my answers. Like, I think we should go to existing communities, and many of them don't even know who are, maybe you're drinking Sierra Nevada Mist, and I just want to know who else wants to see that movie, or who else wants to go to Mexico and Cancun. That's the kind of stuff that unites people. And currently, if I asked you, Jeremiah, like, what can you use today? If you wanted to go today to the movies to see a movie and other people who also want to see that movie, how would you find them? How would you know who wants to go to Mexico with you in September? Like, can you even do it right now?
Not that I know. Personal ad or something like that.
What did you say, Tyler? Personal?
I said it must be like a Craigslist personal ad.
Yeah, I mean, that's
yeah. Oh yeah, that's my point. How incredibly lame that is.
Yeah, you could probably go, let's see, Craigslist, and you're trying to find people to go with to do that thing. Hey guys, I want to go. Hey guys, I want. Someone's echoing. Yeah, like I want to go parasailing with some people, or I want to go, hiking, activities. Yeah, maybe Craigslist. 0 local results found. Oh, Prague. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, to prove my point, like the one ad that pulled up on that Craigslist activity partners, even though it was Sweden or whatever, was like looking for black lady. Like, it's not a personalized type. Like we could do.
Well, this is, look, Fight Club. The guy wants to start a fight club. Okay. This is not exactly a social experience here.
Sounds like Edward Norton.
Maybe it is. Look, what am I supposed to do? Contact this one guy? How do I even do that? Reply. And look, this is Craigslist is still popular because this is what you get. Okay, this is what you get. Instead, you could easily over here, like in one of these things, create. Like, for example, let me go to the Intercoin app. If you're a podcaster, you have a built-in audience, right? Intercoin.app. Oh, here we go. Intercoin app. Wait. Okay. Intercoin.app. So I would like to like see who wants to do something with me, right? So I go to people and sorry, my computer's lagging. Okay, go to people. Oh, sorry, I've been working on some stuff. This is not the best time to show. My point is I could start a new event where I just want to go out and I want to do something. If I'm an admin, I would be able to start an event. I'll show this next time. Next time around, I'll be showing the Intercoin app, and I will be showing exactly how to find people with common interests, how people can indicate their own common interests, and how they can start events where they go ahead and invite people through any means they want. So definitely much superior to Craigslist and to WordPress and to everything else that's currently available, I think. Just my 2 cents. Zach, you've been with me for a long time building the qbix platform. Like, what do you think? Like, did we achieve what we set out to do at this point?
I think in terms of the software is definitely at a stage where it feels like it's reached what we set out for. The next step is just communicating to the public, that a solution is there for a problem that keeps growing. So,
yeah, I mean,
I want to also
what is our next steps?
That question about how to build a community. I think that's actually a really good question. But I think that that's something like community managers would know the best, people who've built communities. And I think regardless of how you went about it, it's going to take a lot of work to build a community. Like, there's no real shortcuts. Of course, if community managers like think of something software related that's going to help them a lot, that's where we come in. But it is hard work. The thing that I think people don't realize is, like, you put in all that work to build your community, but you're actually giving it to Facebook. Like, you're putting yourself in the hands of, another corporation that can destroy what you built at any moment. That's the thing that I think we need to communicate to people.
Yeah, I agree. I think deplatforming is affecting more and more people. But even like the idea, like, you put all this work into your YouTube videos, right? We're putting in work right now. We're creating all this like video content. And then what do? Well, it's like everybody knows. You put it on YouTube and you give YouTube all the traffic, and everyone's going to watch YouTube. And so essentially, the big tech monopoly is benefiting from the fact that they have the infrastructure. So if we, the people, own the infrastructure, suddenly all of a sudden you could put videos on your own site and then get money from people watching videos on your site instead of having. See, it's always the same thing. They come to this site and they watch your video. Sure, that's great. But afterwards, they watch all these other videos. So all that marketing dollar spend that you spend to get them here, let's say they got here, right? Afterwards, they're going to just go to something else right here. So, and you're done. So what's the point of bringing them here, right? If you can bring them to something that you own, something like this. As long as it's interesting, they're going to then maybe bookmark your community and engage with it, right? They're going to engage with their thing and maybe download your app. That's the difference between feudalism, which is giving the products of your labor to the feudal lord, right? And capitalism, or a free market, where you have a chance to own your own business, right? And to essentially control everything about it. And I think people like that. I think people appreciate having their own thing. And that's why we moved from feudalism to capitalism, because I think people like to have, even if it means they're going to have to go out and win clients, whatever, but people like the fact that it's their company. And if they want to rename their company or hire someone or, change the color of their thing, they can. So, as opposed to the feudalism, which is that, you can't change anything here. New York Times cannot do most things that it can do on its own site. It can't do.
Yeah, well, I also think that I don't think that YouTube and these other platforms are necessarily have to go away. I think they're good for finding for outreach, getting new people into your community. But I think your core users should have a place to go. The core members should know they can go to the website is the real place where that's never going to go away. So, yeah, in terms of getting more users, these platforms are actually always, I think, going to be useful as they're kind of like aggregators of all the community's content.
These are aggregators, and see, even Trevor Noah is standing up against cancel culture. I mean, there's definitely a lot of toxic side effects to canceling people that you just want canceled, because it's sort of totalitarian, right? You're kind of putting pressure on platforms to say, look, I got to break my association with this person. And freedom of speech can suffer. And of course, you could say, well, my cause is good. But then governments can use that, as they do right now in wartime. They use it in Russia and Ukraine, where they shut down the opposition and you have no platform. And I think that for all its warts, and I have these conversations with Noam Chomsky on this show, right? Freedom of speech and capitalism. I talk about how, basically about how having freedom of speech is about people being also have freedom of speech. We just don't have freedom after speech. So these governments outside the United States are often have less freedom for speech than the United States. And in fact, Noam, being a huge critic, perhaps the most well-known critic of the United States, admits in this interview and others, where I ask him directly, does the United States have the best freedom of speech of any country in the world? And he says yes. As much as a critic he is, because he lives here, he admits that when it comes to the freedom of speech, the United States has the best protections of any country, although he says it goes back only to the 1960s. But that's cool. Remember, Zach, how we went and we met, you were there when we met Noam Chomsky in 2014, I think.
Yep, I was. I remember that.
All right, we drove up to MIT, and we met Noam Chomsky. We also met Tim Berners-Lee.
Yeah,
that's where we got this picture here.
I think Noam underestimates what can be done with decentralized technology. think that's where he's a little bad.
I think so too. Well, I mean, he's 95 years old. So he's allowed to underestimate things that are new. But I try to teach him about, I got him into UBI. He was skeptical about UBI before. This is Zach. This is myself. We're a little younger here. This is Tim Berners-Lee. This is Dimitri, his lead project guy who later helped to create decentralized identifiers, which Jack Dorsey now uses and many others use, at the W3C. These guys invented the World Wide Web. And hopefully these guys invented qbix and the Web 2.0. And then now we're doing Intercoin. So basically, there's a movement over here, and it's not about profit. This guy is not rich, at least not super rich. But now with Web3, we've figured out how to create profit. Vitalik is a billionaire because he's able to sell his tokens. And I think Intercoin will be the same way. But there's something substantial here, because I think if we don't do this, we're going to live in a world of big tech, and we're going to live in a world where the governments are going to control the big tech. And, they're just going to tell them that you have to silence certain viewpoints because they are harmful, especially during wartime. But I happen to think, I'm more of a libertarian, that people informing other people across country borders is a good thing. More information coming from regular people with regular cameras, cell phones, etc., is good. And if the governments and media get in the way and become gatekeepers of that information, then people should use decentralized networks to get the information out. So that's what I would like to see it being used for, not just a bunch of speculation on the price of something, but actually building software for people to connect, inform each other without gatekeepers. And yes, you could say, well, what about this fake news and these vaccine deniers and all these other things? And Noam Chomsky, correctly in my last interview, talks about bots and botnets and how he's going to, they can affect the perception. So when we build these systems, it's absolutely important to make sure that it's actual people. And sometimes a human being who's paid on, Mechanical Turk Amazon is almost like a bot, because they'll say anything. And under capitalism, a lot of the, I've shown this before, Sinclair Television course, where in capitalism, a person could be paid to say whatever. And the power of Sinclair, as local news actors say the same thing, the same talking points. Well, if you're getting paid to attack NPR by a corporation, you're not exercising your free speech. You're just a mouthpiece that's getting paid to say certain things. So we're always going to come down on the side of freedom and free speech because we need more of that. And I think we'd have to do it responsibly. We can't just have freedom because otherwise what's going to happen is with the freedom is people are afraid a tornado mixer is going to help you to send $1 billion overnight to someone. There's so much more we could do to help people's freedom and to help refugees and everything fleeing from war conflicts, that we don't have to enable billions of dollars to be sent peer-to-peer. I don't think that's the only thing that we could do as a society. Let's do the things that help people first, that are uncontroversial, and then we could talk about those other stuff. This is what it looks like when people are mouthpieces.
Hello, thanks for joining. Out of Ripple.
Video footage point of the president. And that's in Sinclair, a group with a lot of power, a massive platform, using it to push a personal bias.
Right, and Sinclair, controls network stations that are affiliated with all a lot of networks. It's not just something like Fox or ABC or CBS. I mean, there's a lot of stations that are involved with Sinclair. I mean, that are controlled by them.
Yep, and you wouldn't know it. It would look like it was your local Fox News or ABC News station, and it would be owned by Sinclair.
You can go watch this yourself. But yeah, I mean, that's it. Either we live in a world which is top-down controlled by corporations and governments, or we take back some of that power. And that's what my companies represent. That's what my life's work, you could say, over the last 10 years has been. It's trying to replicate the features of Facebook and Twitter and everything and Telegram and put it in the hands of people and find a way to profit and to give investors returns while at the same time doing the right thing by the public. Does anyone else want to say anything before we go?
Yeah. Hi, Zach. Hello, everybody. I think I caught the discussion a bit late, but I'm always up to discussions about community. So I think you raised a very good point, because of course we do need communities on the ground, and I think Intercoin is very good because as an African myself, I know how important it is. Like, I could say, like, already in my case, like 10 use cases, how you can build community from the ground, and also have them like be on the platform that also like connects them with other communities around the world. So it's very good to see that we can do this. And also about censorship and all that, and people banding together, people also taking advantage of these platforms to do stuff that's not actually good. So, but we can just, there are some concerns on that front, but you can't just ignore the other side, because if you have like a community on the ground and you tell them, they can be connected to other communities around the world. So that's very good, because there's value on the grassroots level. So that's amazing. And also, I'm sure, because also BB is very big on community. So like our plan to establish schools, local schools all over the world, like hubs and all that. So I'm sure we're going to work together. Like Intercoin, I'm very passionate about your project. I always listen in when I can. And I'm very happy to hear that like you guys are doing so much progress. So that's very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernice. No, it means a lot. I know some people are worried about how come the Intercoin app is being delayed, and I totally get that. Look, Pulse Chain's been delayed, like I said before, and that has millions of dollars behind it. I mean, that project has a ton of money from Hex. And Ethereum has been delayed by years. So, like, I take full responsibility for Intercoin app being delayed, and we have to push all our roadmap by a few months. But hey, look, there was a downturn, and a lot of people that promised that they're going to come in with money are having liquidity issues. Okay, that's just the nature of the project. Now, could we have raised millions of dollars if we just shilled our coin and maybe not even revealed who we are? Yes, we could have just not doxed ourselves. There's been some shadowy people. And we could have said it's going to the moon, buy it, and paid a bunch of influencers. And I think that's the base level of us competing with other projects, is paying for fake volume, paying for bots, shills, automation, fake volume, fake whatever, going on a bunch of we could have done all that. And look, in this space, I'm almost like shamed for not doing it. But then I ask people, like, what if the SEC comes in, and what if you get a call, or what if this? And they're like, yeah, but hopefully we won't. And that's kind of the thing, is like, I want to do this clean if we can. I hope we can. I don't see why not. We have a product. Communities need our product. And it took a long time, but I think we got there. Right, Zach? I think at this point, it's just a matter of like building the automated sales funnel and getting like people to buy it.
Yep, I agree. I think it's just a matter of the communication now.
All right, so that's basically where we're at. Next week, it will be all about the Intercoin app I'll show you the features of the Intercoin app. All the different roles and permissions that people can earn by being on the show, like you guys are on the show. Credits that you can earn, the community coin, the Intercoin community coin, staking. So next time we do the show, you'll be able to buy some Intercoin community tokens and stake ITR. Stake your ITR, get community coins, and use them for all kinds of things. There's going to be more and more things. And that's kind of the point. Intercoin is building it for ourselves, and then we could build it for everybody else. So stay tuned for that. In the coming months, Intercoin app will be the place where you could buy. That'll be the automated sales funnel. If you want to do your own Web3 stuff, DAOs, NFTs, that's going to be where it is.
Also, I think it's important that you guys bring more community managers on board, because obviously we're great at building the software, but we need the community managers to let us know like what features and stuff would be helpful in helping grow the community. That's like the expertise that we don't have. So Bernice, if you are, can bring some more people like yourself and whoever else is on the call that's a community manager, I think that will be really helpful in growing this.
I think we should talk on that front. I think the best thing to bring in is like community people who want to build communities themselves. Yeah. But it doesn't mean like you have to bring celebrities first, because there's so many kinds of communities. So if, let's say, even if it's 500 people, it's still a community. It still has value, and there's so many people who can do that. So yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
I think we should talk. Yeah. Let's organize a meeting and just brainstorm.
Yep, exactly. Because we have the tech. As you guys can see, the tech is really amazing, and we're really good at that. So we just need the other side, and then we'll really have some good positive feedback going.
I have a plan. Why don't we, if we have a meeting about it, why don't we use this show as our meetings? And the reason I say that is because I think a lot of people would love to see what's going on. Like, when things happen behind closed doors, I often feel it's wasted. First of all, what if we had some brilliant, presentation, or people said something, and then it's just like no one knows about it. So I always like to record my conversations with Thomas. That's how this show started, because I think I wanted to talk to Noam Chomsky and let everyone else know what we're talking about, as opposed to just one-on-one. So why don't we have our meetings, okay? Have this show as the venue for our meetings, because I think that, and then people see it's real, and all that effort we're putting in on Mondays and everything, we could put it right now, like during the show, and then people will see us, being real.
Yeah, that's fine as well. But also I would like to bring some other people that I know that will also maybe have value to add. So we can organize that as well. No problem. I think I have like maybe 5 people that would maybe contribute something of value. So give them a heads up, and then then we can see.
Okay. And Zach, and everyone that's on here, can I ask you, try to bring one other person to this show? One person a week. So like this week, think of one person that you could invite to the movement, right? Send them the link to the app. Let them see, like, they can watch the shows. They can go to the forum, and then hopefully they can attend the next week. Because like I tell everybody, if we bring one person per week, okay, there's going to be 14 people here. The following week, there's going to be 21 people, and the following week, 28 people. But then when some of those people decide they're ready to bring one person a week also, then it will grow exponentially. And what I've always said is I'd rather that you bring one person and focus on one relationship, really get a person who's interested to participate, right? To join the forum, to comment, to, to actually like be there and be part of the movement. It's better to have that than to have a show with 100 listeners and then they move on to the next thing, you know? So can we do that? Can we, each one of us, bring one person?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Sounds good to
we'll
me.
work on that.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Everybody, I encourage, please bring other people, and please, if you're on here on the crypto forum, feel free to participate here. We have so many topics. Anything that you're interested in, you know, we've had so many topics over the years, and we have our own shows that we've put up here. We walk the walk, right? So we talk. The shows are here, and basically just be active, because that's the whole point. As we're building the software, we need people to really, like Zach said, build the community. I think that's pretty much what it is. Hopefully in a month or two, we have 20 people, we have 100 people participating. And at that point, we won't be needing any more community. They'll just be coming by themselves, and we'll be like, oh, this is too much. And then we'll need moderators. We'll need to make sure that people aren't posting all kinds of crap. But until then, for the next few months, like, their goal is just bring one person each and bring them to the forum. So that's all I had to say for today. I just wanted everyone to see where we're at. Next time, I'm going to be demoing the Intercoin app. So that's about it. Does anyone else want to say anything? Jacob, Temi, or anyone else? All right, so I think that's it for today. I'll see you guys next week.